sorry I haven't posted in like the last hour or however long, but I just fell asleep. It was just too comfortable in my bed. I just fell asleep. I didn't mean to. So we'll start a series. Is what if uh, what if Naruto was a silent prodigy? And start off with Naruto. We'll say he's like we'll say he's 4 years old and he he's training in the village and he's training in the woods. He's fishing and stuff like that. But then we see we see a actually no, I'm not gonna do that. He's training in the woods and then he gets done with training and says that's another day training and he's walking to the village with his head down and the villager says that's a demon break, get him. Naruto's like Naruto said, well, I can't hit them. If I do, I'll be banished. And he grabbed Naruto, and the villagers grabbed Naruto, threw him in the alley, started shanking him, kicking him, punching him, beating him with like brute force, like brute weapons, like bats and stuff like that. But I don't know if they had bats, so I'm gonna say like wood planks. And Izuku's like Izuku said, oh no, I'll keep taking this. Naruto was like, it hurt so much. But I had to let it go on just a little bit longer. And he sees the villager. He says, hold him down. And they take off Naruto's shirt. And the villager, he goes to Naruto's back. He carves in demon deep in a deep cut, and it's big too. And Naruto goes to school. He has blood on his shirt. And everybody was like, what happened? And I'm gonna say Naruto, since he was a silent prodigy, he never talked. Everybody thought he was silent, like, uh, like where you couldn't talk, mute. Everybody thought he was mute, and he could talk, but he just never chose to. I don't know why, but he could talk, but he never chose to. So he says, teacher says, oh, hey Naruto. Naruto, he turns around, or he like turns his head back and gives him a thumbs up. He goes to his seat. And Kiba says, what a weird kid. He doesn't even talk. She goes and says, hey freak, say something. I'm gonna say, Sasuke could be a girl. Sasuke could be a girl. Sakura could be a boy. Who else should I change? Actually, no, that's about it. Sasuke. Sasuke and Sakura. Sasuke Second with Sasuke. Or, after he says, you freak, uh, and Naruto looks at him. He puts on a paper. He says, I'm not gonna say anything. I don't have to. And he throws it at, Kiba. And Kiba, he's like, he reads the note. And he says, oh yeah? And he says, oh yeah? He gets, he says, Akamaru, who killed him. Akamaru rushes over there. And he's just walking. He's just biting. He's biting Naruto's leg with force. I'm gonna say he broke his ankle. Like he broke his bone or shattered his ankle. And Naruto was just in pain. But he kicks the dog off and gets a kunai and throws it at Kiba. And and he says, he whispers, but nobody can hear him. He whispers, he says, and Kiba says, what'd you say, huh? I swear I heard something from your mouth. Kiba says, come on, say it again, you big freak. And he punches him. He slams him with Naruto does this. Naruto punches Kiba, slams him against the wall. He starts attacking him in his stomach, punching him in his stomach. And he gets to fight serious. And he said, and Naruto, he was like, and he sits down. And Kiba says, yeah, we're gonna finish this after class or after school. Naruto's like, no, we're not. In his head. And basically, he has an adopted mother in this one too. Basically, he goes and he says, he doesn't say anything. He just waves. And they all say, look at the death freak. The death freak. And he puts his hand down. And he just goes upstairs. Well, he goes to the basement, to his room. He goes to the basement. And he's gotten used to this, but the beatings still hurt. We're gonna do a 2-year time skip, and there's 7. I want to say they have to bring clothes for athletics, or for ninja training outside. And he says he just brings some of some spare clothes, and he brings the clothes in a little bag. Hey, and yeah, and he gets to school, and he says, what? He says Kiba laughs and says, haha, look at Naruto. He's too poor to get he's too broke to get him a real backpack. As everybody's like, yeah. Besides Sasuke, and Hinata is, I'm gonna say Kiba save Hinata this time. Besides Hinata, he was like, yeah, Kiba come. as she was like looking down, and it said, "That's not funny, you guys. That's not funny, you guys." And Naruto, he taps her in the shoulder, and he writes. He gives her a letter and says, "Don't worry about it. It's fine. It happens every day." And she says, "That's not good." And she said, "I know. They need to stop it." And he says, writes back, and he writes back and says, "It's fine. They can do whatever they want." And she says, "No, they can't." And he says, and Naruto writes back and says, "Really, it's fine. I can protect myself." And he says, and says, "Why don't you do it then?" And he writes back and says, "I don't want to get banished. If I hate someone, they're gonna go to the Hokage. I might get banished." So yeah. And so basically, Sasuke, Sasuke a girl in this one. No, Sasuke is not a girl, but Sakura's still a boy. And we see Sasuke got a sister. Her name is, I lucky forgot. Uh, I want to say her name is Mona, Mila, Sasuke, Sami. Her name is Sami. She's the only Sami, and Sasuke. They're like the really ones who nice. Or Sasuke, like he just sit there quietly, and his sister, I already forgot her name. I already. That's sad. I'm just give her the name Mila. And Mila, she's nice to Naruto. She brings some food, snacks time to time. And Naruto, he always declines them. And she does the same. I want to say basically they're like fighting over Naruto. Even though he can't talk, they still like him because he has he has that personality. Oh, come on. He has that personality where okay, he has that personality where if he was to get hit, he would just brush it off and say calm down, or you would like try to calm that person down instead of trying to get back in the fight. Or and if the person's too big, he would just let it happen. And that's not the reason they like him. They like him because he wants to look at his looks. They like to go to his looks, personality, and they believe that they can make him say something. And Milo, I forgot her name already. I'm going to just name her Mina. Mina goes to Sasuke and says, "Hey brother." Sasuke says, "What do you want?" I said in that emo voice, "What do you want?" And Mina says, "Why so emo, brother?" And he gets up and says, "I'm not emo." And she says, "Yeah, whatever." And Naruto, she goes to Naruto and says, "Hey Naruto, do you think my brother is emo?" And Naruto, he's like, he says, he's like, yeah, he not said yeah. And She says, see, even Naruto thinks you're emo. And he says, I'm not emo. Naruto, do you really think I'm emo, huh? And he said, no. And she says, why'd you lie to me, huh? I seen you shake your head yes the first time. And he starts lying. He starts laughing. And Sasuke says, what's so funny, huh? Huh? And Naruto gets this note and he passes it to Sasuke. And it says, because you're emo and you just want to accept it. And he reads his note out loud. And Mina says, see, brother, I told you. And he says, no, I won't accept that. She says, no, not emo. As he gets up and walks out the classroom. And him being the top, teacher doesn't care. He walks out the classroom and goes back to his home. And Mina says, you're not to do you want to hang out later? Naruto said no. And she says, why? And they say, she says, because I don't want you to see me in a position where I can't fight back. And she says, what does that mean, Naruto-kun? And he says, nothing. He races and he shakes his head no. And she says, okay, well, whatever. And he says, well, what about tomorrow? And Naruto says, writes down on the paper and says, we can't hang out. Only hang out when the villagers is probably sleeping. And let's say, Naruto brung Mina to his favorite spot. And she took him to his favorite spot. He took Mina to his favorite spot. Basically, it was a field with dandelions, flowers, and you could see mountains and hills in the background. And he writes down on his paper, he says, this is where I come to think. And we're gonna say, he says, this is where I come to think, or sometimes release some stress. This is my favorite place to go. Let's start meeting here from now on, okay? And she says, okay. He writes this in a note. And she says, okay. And we're gonna say that Shikimoto sneaks behind him. And he says, demon freak. As he says, start possession jutsu. And Naruto's like, why can't I move? He tries to move, but then he's being controlled. And he whispered, he said, right, to Mina. She said, what'd you say, Naruto? And he get closer to her mouth. And Naruto, he's like, oh, Naruto. And Naruto, he like points his head like, go. She says, okay. And she leaves, but she like gets a certain distance where he can see her, but he get that where where Naruto can see her, but she can see Naruto. And he sees that Shikamaru is walking up to Naruto with the possession jutsu, and Kiba, Hinata, uh, you know, Kiba, Hinata, Sakura, and and over Naruto, and she like, he told me to run, but I want to help. And we see him get his shirt cut by Kunai, and he says, Shikamaru. He was like, Shikamaru, lay down on the ground. So he lays down on the ground, and Naruto does the same thing. And they was like, take your shirt off. Yeah. He lays on his stomach. Like, take his shirt off. He was like, let's cut him. He says, Kiba, says, Kiba couldn't just think that's going a little too far. And Hinata, and Kiba says, no, you destroyed the village 12 years ago and killed my grandmother. I won't let him, I won't, this is not going too far at all. As she says, okay, she, says Byakugan, and she starts hitting Naruto's chakra points. And he's just like, he's crying. And said 10 minutes after they get done beating him, they leave him there. And his shirt is ripped off. His pants tattered. And he sees, he gets up and he says, under his breath, he says, and we see Mina running to Naruto. She says, Naruto-kun. She hugs her. She tries to hug him, and he jumps out the way. And he holds a kunai through her neck, and she says, Naruto-kun. She says, Naruto-kun, what are you doing? And he lets go. She says, I'm sorry, I have to go. And he starts walking up in the distance, the train, and she sees Demon and carved. He sees Demon carved into his back. And Naruto right there and says, I gotta go. And she says, wait, at least let me bandage you up. Take you to my house and bandage you up. And she says, no. If people, he writes it down. When I say he talks, that's when he talks. Like when I say, and he says, well, I'm gonna say, y'all know when he talks. He basically says, he writes, no. If you get seen with me, your reputation will go down, and I don't want that to happen. You probably get beat like I do. And she says, no, I won't. And he says, no, it's over. Just leave me alone. And she hugs Naruto, but she grabs his wrist, and she says, no, I'm not gonna let you leave. You're gonna let me bandage you up. And then she says, now come on. And she drags Naruto to their house. And basically, Sasuke, he says, Naruto, what are you doing? And Mina says, I brought him here so I could bandage him up from what Kiba and his friends did. And he says, oh, okay. And they go into her room, and she says, "Go take a shower, and then we'll continue with the wound. Then we'll start. He start bandaging you up." And he takes a shower, and he's like, "Man, I don't know if I tell her. I don't know if I should talk to her. I don't want to so bad, but she might tell everyone, and then they force me to speak. I don't want to speak." As he gets out the shower, says, I'm gonna say she was she was they're like 13 now. She was going to give him a towel, and she says, "Guys, I'm gonna leave you a towel." And Naruto, he can't say anything. He's like, and hide, go somewhere. Oh, and she opens the door, and she sees Naruto, and she blushes, and she says, "Naruto, put that away." And she throws him the towel, and Naruto says, Naruto, he whispers, he says, "Well, it's part of my body." She says, "Did you say?" She says, "He said something, didn't you?" And Naruto says, shakes his head no. And she says, "Yeah, you did. I heard you." And basically, we see Naruto, not Naruto, Mina grabbing his hand and taking it to uh taking it to her room. Says, "Okay." They get to her room. She says, "Lay down." And he said, "Okay." And she says, "Lay down on your back with your stomach." And he says, "Okay." Or she says, Naruto says, "No." And she says, "Why?" It's because you have that demon carved into you. And Naruto looked down. And Naruto said, and she said, "Well, it doesn't matter. You're not a demon in my eyes." And he says, "Thank you." He like speaks. He says, "Thank you." And she said, she raises her eyes, like her eyes wide. Says, you said something. And he not to say, yeah. He not to say, yeah. And stop, no. And Mina, "You said something." She hugs him. She said, "I'm so proud of you." And Naruto blushes. And says, "Thanks," in a low voice. And she said, and he says, gives her a piece of paper and says, "Please don't tell anyone." I'm gonna say that she says, "Okay." Now she says, "Okay, now let's get those bandages healed up. Or let's get those wounds healed up." And basically they get they go to his wounds and basically heal him. Basically sorry, Naruto is Naruto is She says, I actually feel a little bit better. And he says, thank you. And she says, no problem, Naruto-kun. And she kisses him on the cheek and he blushes and he whispers, what was that? He whispers, she said, what was that for? And she says, Naruto said, she says, just a little reward for opening up to me. And he smiles and says, okay. And writes it down and says, okay. And we do the 30 time skip, to where we do 2 year time skip to where he is Naruto. He's opened up 3 year time skip. He's opened up to Mina, and they're best friends. And Ino and Naruto like faded. They were friends, but they like faded. Like when your friend goes to 6th grade and he gets a new batch of friends. Basically, that's how it is. But she didn't forget about Naruto. She just never had the time, or she never talked to him because her popularity, it was a major thing for her. I want to say that, and cause she was trying to pull Sasuke, she like more popularity, maybe the more chance. She stopped liking Naruto though, and Mina, she says, "Hey Naruto, come, do you want to go to our favorite spot after school?" And he says, "Yeah." He says, "Yeah," and she says, "Really?" And she hugs him and says, "Thanks." And Naruto, he says, "No problem." And we skipped after school, and they get to the spot, and basically, when they get to the spot, they just talk about life, and girls, she talks about boys, but she really doesn't talk about anyone besides her brother. And Naruto really don't talk about nobody but her. And basically, she's like, oh wow. And and after she's giving her compliments, and then thank you for being my friend all these years, even though I was I was the quiet kid. And Naruto, and Mina says no problem. I'm just trying to like build the relationship before I start the storyline. So yeah, Mina says no problem, and Mina says, do you want to go back to my place and watch a movie? And Naruto said, yeah. He nods his head, yes. And she grabs his hand and says, well, come on. She interlocks her hands with his fingers, and they start walking to her house. Naruto, he was like, her hands are so warm. And basically, he says her hands are so warm. And she says, huh, what'd you say? He says, your hands, they're so warm. And she says, She says, well, yeah. She says, well, yeah, they're supposed to be out there. And he says, yeah, I guess they are. And they go to his house. They go to Mina's house. And we see Mina putting on a movie Insidious. She just wants to cuddle with Naruto. And basically, she wants to cuddle with Naruto. So she puts on a scary movie. Make it seem like she's scared. And basically, we see how Naruto, who skipped to the scary part, and she says, Naruto can't help me. And she rushes. Actually Naruto's like laying down on his back. She rushes. And she wraps her arms around Naruto. And Naruto's like, what's going on? As he looks up and says, Mina, are you okay? And she says, no, this movie is too scary. I can't. I'm terrified. Save me. Save me, please, Naruto. Don't let the monsters get me. And he says there are no monsters here. Or Mina, as long as I'm here, nobody will be here to hurt you. I'll always be here to protect you. And she says, thank you. And she kisses him on the lips. And he kisses back. And he breaks the kiss and says, well, I think I should get going now. And she says, wait, do you want to spend the night? And Naruto's like, he says, I guess. And we see, I'm gonna say that they both see something they can look for. And Naruto, he says, Naruto says, well, I'm gonna go take a shower as he takes his shirt off. And he goes in the restroom. And he feels his back. And it still has that demon on it. As he can feel the deep scar that still haven't healed. The scars on it that still haven't healed. And he feels the bruises from the villagers. He gets flashed back. He falls down. He punches the ground and says, why can I fight back? And as she hears this, she opens the door. She sees Naruto punching the ground, saying, why can I fight back? He gets his Naruto chakra eyes, and he says, no, to control the beast. And she doesn't know he has a Naruto chakra. And he looks up with the Naruto's eyes. And she says, Naruto, what is that? And Naruto, he says nothing. As he runs into the shower and says, get out. And she gets out. And she says, what? She says, what were those eyes? And she's like, what's that the Nine Tails? Everyone talks so much about. No, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I won't believe it. And we do a 10-minute time skip. And Naruto walks out with his blue eyes. And he says, you can go take a shower now. As he lays on the floor. And she says, he lays on the floor and says, well, I won't. And he says, he lives on the floor. And Mina says, you can lay on my bed until I get back, okay? She says, and he says, okay. He gets on her bed, and, gets on her bed and puts his head on her pillow. And yeah, he's like, man, her pillow smells so good. And Mina walks out 10 minutes later. She sees Naruto laying on her pillow. She says, he's laying on the pillow. And she was like, boy, I like is laying on my pillow. And Naruto said, huh? The what? You what? The what? You, huh? Even, what did you say? And she says, nothing, not so cool. And he says, oh, well, whatever. And we see, he says, well, you can have your bed back. And she says, wait, we can share it. And Naruto says, uh, okay. Basically, I'm gonna say, Naruto, he was like, well, I'm waiting on you. Because I don't want to be the first one in the bed. Especially when a woman's here. And she said, me? And she says, yeah. Naruto says, yeah. And she gets in the bed. And Naruto gets in the bed. And Naruto, she puts her arm around Naruto. And she says, I liked that kiss earlier. And Naruto blushes and says, you kissed me first. And as he looks down, and Sasuke hears him and says, kiss. He opens the door and says, Mina, who are you kissing? And she sees Naruto and laying on the bed, and Naruto says, oh, he says, he waves or throws paper at Sasuke and says, hey Sasuke. And he says, hey loser. And Naruto throws him a piece of paper at Sasuke and they say, you're the loser. And he says, yeah, whatever. And he says, okay, emo freak. And Sasuke says, oh, and he walks off mad. And I'm gonna say in this one, Sasuke's more powerful, so he doesn't go with Orochimaru, because I hate that. I feel bad for Sasuke. He goes to he doesn't go to Orochimaru. And Sakura. We get back to Mina and and they already did the tuning exam. Sorry if I didn't go over that. But yeah. Mina, she says, Naruto, I have something to tell you. And Naruto says, yeah, what is it? She says, there's this guy I like, and I don't know how to confess to him. She says, Naruto says, well, what is he like? Maybe you could give him something. And he says, no, he doesn't like gifts. Or from my point of view, he doesn't. Because every time I get him one, he always says, no, you can keep it. And Naruto was like, I say that a lot. And he says, well, who is it? And she says, it's, 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 it's. And Naruto says, don't worry, you don't have to tell me. And And I'm gonna say, he says, well, good night. And she says, well, good night. And she says, it's you, Naruto. Naruto says, it's me? What do you mean, it's me? And she says, you're the one that, she said, you're the one that I love. Naruto says, why me? She says, from the first day I saw you, I really looked like your personality and blah blah blah. Trying to impress Naruto. Naruto, she kisses Naruto. Or, she don't kiss Naruto. Yes, she do kiss Naruto. Mina kissed Naruto. And Naruto breaks the kiss and says, well, I love you too. And, and, and she takes off Naruto's shirt. She's not rubbing his body. And not Minato. When she started rubbing his body, Naruto was like, could you stop doing that? And she says, yeah, whatever. Says, yeah, whatever. And he says, well, good night. She says, or good night, May. Or Mina. And and Naruto says, yeah, good night. May says, well, good night, Naruto. And they say good night to each other. And I'm gonna say, Naruto, he had a bad dream. He started voice making it. He says, please, please don't beat me. I promise you I won't do it again. She wakes up. She sees Naruto on the floor, caught up on a ball. And says, Naruto says, please stop, please stop. I promise I won't do it again. And she says, Naruto, and and it in Naruto's eyes, he's getting beat. And he's like, no, please stop. Stop, please. And she says, stop it. And no, she doesn't say that. She says, Naruto, are you okay? He says, he starts crying hard. He says, please stop. I don't want to die. Not yet. And his eyes, the demon, in his eyes, the village, in his eyes, in his nightmare, the villager says, well, I'll get that over with for you. And then they kill him. And he said, no. And he starts talking. And Chia and May just, May is, kissing and hugging Izuku. And, and, and kisses him. She's hugging and kisses him at the same time. And Naruto breaks out of his dream thingy and says, what happened? What happened? She says you had a nightmare. And he said, it doesn't matter. If you hear me screaming, just leave it alone. And she says no. Because I know what your nightmares are. If you can beat Arthur. He says, yeah, they are. Just leave it alone. She says, no, Naruto-kun. I'm not she says you have a meeting in the world, and plus we don't have any kids. And Naruto says kids. She says yeah, we're gonna have kids. And Naruto says we have to. You know what we have to do to have kids, right? And she smiles and says yeah, yeah I do. Hopefully I get to do it one of these days with you. And Naruto blushes and says, "You need two sweet cheeks." As he grabs her waist and kisses her. She blushes and says, "Don't call me that." And he says, "Okay, hotcakes." And she blushes even harder. Says, "Stop with the nicknames." And he says, "Okay, cutie pie." And she blushes. She gets like super red. She pouts and says, "Really stop." And Naruto says, "Huh." He laughs and says, "Okay." And basically, they say, "Well, let's go." Naruto says, "Well, let's go back to sleep." And she says, "Okay." And basically, they go back to sleep. And basically, when they go to sleep, she cuddles up with Naruto. When Naruto cuddles her, she's blushing, and he's like, uh, and he's like, I, well, he says, um, "I love you, shield on my heart, and we'll have kids one day, I promise you. You're the best father in the world. I just hope they don't get my traits." And basically, basically, um, she says, okay, she says, um, they wake up when nurse was late for school, and she says, it doesn't matter. She says, no, we're not. And she fixes the time and says, that clock is ahead by 20 minutes or an hour. And after says, oh, he gets up and he says, well, I'm going to take a shower. She says, I'm going to take one with you. After brushing and says, okay. And she leaves, she says, okay, and she leaves. She leaves. She wants to go she gets up and goes to her dresser and pulls out some clothes. No, she pulls on some of Naruto's underwear. And he says, once you get those, and Naruto, or she said, I've been wearing them for a long time now. He says, you got my favorite pair too. And she says, I can give them back. She said, I can give them back if you want. She's about to take off his underwear. And he says, no, it's mine. And she says, you sure? And Naruto says, yeah. Unless you're gonna be naked if you don't, they see each other naked, but they're like, okay, you're naked. What's the world? And he's like, Naruto says, plus you're gonna be naked. And she says, I don't mind being naked around you. And Naruto blushes. And he says, well, then can I get them back? As he smiles, he says, okay, get them back. And she says, no, give me them. And Naruto says, what? But you were just going to give them back. And she says, yeah, but you said I didn't keep them. So I'm keeping them. And Naruto says, well, we're taking a shower. So you're going to have to give those back to me. Or she says, you're going to have to get a new pair. And she says, yeah, I know. I'll just wear the one that you're wearing. And I'll just wear the one that you want to get to. after he gets from the shower, and he says, "But you can't. I'm going to go out." And she says, "No, you can go inside out." And he says, "Okay." And I'm gonna say, after he's getting more comfortable talking with her, like he's got it way more comfortable, and he says, "Well, come on then." And she takes off his shirt, and she sees those scars, and she sees demonized back, and she's like, she gets in, and she says, "I still can't get that image of my mom." And he hugs her and says, "It's alright." She tries to press her boobs up against his chest, and he grabs her waist and says, "It's alright." And she says, "Naruto, that's not the way you hug someone." And Naruto hurry up and moves back to her back and says, and starts rubbing her back and says, "It's okay, it's okay." And she breaks the hug, and she says, "Naruto, what were you trying to do?" And Naruto says, "To be honest with you, I was trying to squeeze the cheeks." And she says, she says, "I was gonna let you, but you tried to do it on my permission." And Naruto says, "What? Come on, come on." He says, "Come on, babe." And, she blushes. He says, "Baby, please." And she says, "Only for 2 seconds." And he says, "I'm getting more than 2 seconds. Give me at least 10. And she said, "2 or nothing." And he said, "I find it." As he reaches over her waist, and he grabs her booty, and she thought he was like just wiggling around, but he's actually playing with it. She's like, "Stop playing with my booty." And he says, "Well, so, so," guys, I guess he feels pressure on his face, and he got socked. He falls down. She said, "What was that for?" And she said, your 2 seconds was over. You got 30. And, Naruto was like, "Sorry." She says, "It's no problem." And she gets inside, and basically she she Naruto she drops herself, and he's whispering yes, and she bends over to pick herself up, and I wanna say Naruto, he grabs her booty again, and he he grabs her booty, and basically it was like she gets up. I wanna say Naruto got a little bit too low, accidentally touched her on the square. She moaned. She said, "Naruto, what are you doing?" Naruto takes his hand off her booty. "Sorry, I had she says, "You what? What?" And he says, "I think I touched a little bit more than your butt." As he blushes and says, "Or she knows he touched. She knows what he touched. She didn't want him to admit it." says, what would you touch? And Erica says, I think you know. And says, she says, probably. She says, yeah, I do. I just, as she's asking her leg, says, nothing. Never mind. And he says, I think he's closer to her. He turns around. He gets closer. She turns around. She starts washing herself off. He said, he presses, his gentleman leg up against her booty cheeks. And he says, that she said, Nata, what does that fucking mean? But Nata act like he doesn't know. He says, I don't know. What do you mean? And it's bone. I say, tip goes inside. And 18 plus you. Tip goes, well, not really. Tip goes inside. And, we see May and Mina. Mina and Nata. Mina, she says, Nata. She says, Nata, take that out. Nata says, oh, sorry. She takes it out. And he says, I didn't mean to, as he feels pressure on his right cheek as he gets smacked. He says, you can only put that in there when I say so. And he says, sorry, as he feels his face and says, did you really have to smack me for it? She smacks him again and says, yeah. And she smacks him again and says, yeah, if you were a girl and your boyfriend out of nowhere just sticks his tip in you, what would you do? And Naruto says, I would probably do the same thing. She says, yeah, as I thought. And Naruto, hey, I wouldn't do the same thing at all. And Naruto, he says, Naruto's like, no, not Naruto. Mina says, yeah, that's what I thought. And he says, oh, come on, we have to get ready for school. We have to go to school. And he says, yeah. He says, yeah, okay. And then he puts on Naruto's drawers. He says, he looks at her and says, you know, you can put on white drawers anytime you like. She says, why is that? And she says, why is that? And Naruto says, Naruto says, why? He says, I'm just gonna say, basically, your bottle. He says, basically, your wood, I swear it is, every time. It's in my drawers. He gets in my I said, Angela gets and she said, Naruto. And he says, yeah. And she says, you're disgusting. He says, how? She points. And Naruto says, sorry. He says, sorry, it's not my fault. And she says, yeah, whatever. And basically, he gets to school and teacher says, hey, Naruto. And Naruto waits and put a note that says, hey, Miss Samuels. And basically, Miss Samuels, basically Naruto Naruto says, uh, Naruto says, he basically says, well, he sits down on his desk. Amino shortly walks in after him and sits down on his lap, and uh and she says, she moves around, and Naruto says, you should really stop. He says, can you stop moving? And she's like, what's wrong? And she moves again. She's like, ha ha ha. And Naruto said, okay, I warned you. And he wraps his arm around her waist and gets on her. And it starts sticking. Not the whole thing, like just the top part. It starts sticking, poking, her nana square. And she says, Naruto, let me get up. Naruto says, I warned you. But you didn't listen. Now you have to deal with the wrath of my jangling. And the teacher's like, what's going on? Why is she squirming? And she says, the teacher says, Naruto, is everything okay back there? And Mina's about to say no, and Naruto says, yes, teacher, everything is fine. And he says, okay, man, you can get up now. And she gets up, and she says, I hate you. He says, I love you too. And basically, she says, yeah, whatever. And she says, Miss Samuel's gonna go to the restroom. And or she says Miss Samuel's gonna go to the restroom. And actually, this what if it could be Naruto, what if Sasuke had a sister and Naruto was mute, or in Naruto not mute, but in Naruto really talk. So yeah, that's what it could be. Well, what if Naruto had? What if Sakura had a sister? Sasuke. So yeah, he says, teacher, can I go to the restroom? 2 seconds later. And he says, the teacher says, yeah, whatever. And we see, we get to the, Naruto's like, there's no way she disappeared. 2 seconds, and she hears like a muffled moan. Like not a muffled moan, but a muffled scream coming from, the restroom. And he rushes over there. And, we see, a teacher. It's like, you don't love that Naruto brat, do you? You love me. And Naruto, he says, oh hell no. He gets his school knife. And he says, calm down. He says, fuck that. And he says, Vermilion Rasengan, and explodes the teacher, and will put a hole through the teacher's chest, and he dies. And the Nine Tails starts taking control over his body, and he starts pounding on the teacher, and she's like, he's already dead, stop it. And he's pounding, and he doesn't hear a thing. All the Nine Tails and he's following the words because he's furious what he just saw. or what he was about to see. He didn't, maybe he didn't step in. And he starts being the professor. Ever touch, ever touch her again, and I'll kill your whole family. And she's scared by this, and she says, Naruto, please, stop scaring me. And Naruto, he hesitates, he stops for a little bit. He's about to punch him. He stops, and he starts coming back at him. And Naruto, she runs to go get some help, and she sees some of Naruto's people that he like makes small talk with. He says, "You have to help me." She says, "You have to help me," and they say, "Yeah, okay. What do you want? What do you want?" And he says, "Wait, aren't you Naruto's girlfriend? Where's Naruto?" And she says, "That's what I need help with." And they bring him over to Naruto. She brings him over to Naruto. She says, "I need your help." And she says, "I did everything, but he just won't stop." And they're is happening? What the heck is happening? And they say, this is not my problem. This is something. He says the first they says that he makes small talk with says this ain't my problem, and they leave. And she goes to Naruto. She says, Naruto, come please stop. He's dead already. She kisses him, does everything she can, pulling him off. And once they remember Meliodas lost his emotions, and he went to that form where he had like two spikes on his shoulders. Yeah, that's basically not Demon King form, but assault mode. There it is. I think it's assault mode. Yeah, he goes into assault mode, and basically that's what happens with Naruto. He gets the same form that Meliodas does, and he says, Mina, he says, Mina, come on. He grabs her wrist and she says, Naruto, that hurts. And he says, I don't care. She knows the Naruto's chakra is taking over. And she lets go of his hold and says, Naruto, you have to snap out of it. She kisses him and Naruto goes back to normal. Naruto goes back to normal. And Naruto goes back to normal for a few seconds. And she says, Naruto, back. And he says, yeah, sorry. He says, yeah, sorry. And darkness overtakes him again. And he says, come on. She says, what? What? And she says, but that what is the Meliodas that I just seen? And he says, what? She says, where's the Naruto that I just seen? And he says that Naruto was dead. That Naruto was weak. That Naruto was weak. He was always scared and never fought back. And he grins and she says, no, Naruto, if you remember he said if you was to fight back you would get banished. And he says, Naruto says, I don't give a hell. He says, I don't give a damn if I'm banished or not. I'll destroy this village. And he says, if I do get banished, you're coming with me. And she says, what about my brother? She says, he'll be an exception. And he says he'll be an exception. And she says, what about the ramen guy? he says, I don't give a fuck about that old man. He's about to die soon anyway. He's 80 years old. He should just already die. And he goes, and he grabs her. He picks her up, and he goes, and he one of the villagers says, hey, it's a demon brat. And Naruto looks his way. He blitzes over her and uppercuts him and says, Don't talk to me, you mere human. And the Hokage seeing it and trying to banish him. The council was like, not council. Council was like, Ambu said, sir, Naruto just hit a villager. Council says, well, time to banish him. We all agreed to banish him, right? And yeah. We all agreed? Yeah. And so now that she was the Hokage at this time, and she said, and she says, yeah, I guess. And she says, and they say Naruto. Naruto gets home, and Ambu knocks on the door not too long after. And he gets to Mina's house, and he says, "What do you want?" Naruto opens the door and says, "What do you want?" And he says, "Naruto, the Hokage wants you to come to her office." And he says, "All right, I'll be there in a little bit." And the Ambu says, "You shall go to her office now." And he says, "Shut the hell up, or I kill you. Before I kill you." Ambu gets scared and says, "Sorry," and he walks off. And or he body flickers off, and yeah. And we do a 2-hour time skip. And Naruto, he won't let anyone touch or he won't let anybody do anything to Shia as he's walking through the village or to Hokage's office. And anybody who looks at Shia, he says, "Are you thinking about stealing her, huh? Do you want to die?" And he says, "No, I just looked your way." And he says, "I should kill you." And Shia says, "Naruto, come on." And she was crying, and she says, "Naruto, please, where's the sweet innocent boy?" And Naruto says that Naruto's dead. I already told you that Naruto couldn't protect you. And she says, that's the Naruto that I loved. And Naruto says, well, we are the same person, just with different personalities. And she says, so you saying you don't love me? And she said, I do love you. And she says, well, you do love me, right? And she said, yeah, Naruto-kun. And basically, we see not Naruto, but Naruto. He's walking up the stairs to Hokage thing, and everybody's seeing his new form. They're like, "What the hell?" And he kicks open the door and says, "What do you want, Hokage? I don't have time for this." And Hokage says, "Respect me." Or when the Ambu says, respect Lady Tsunade." And he says, "Shut the hell up before I kill you and kill your family and make you watch." The Ambu shuts up, and Tsunade says, "Naruto, Namikaze, Uzumaki, you are hereby banished from this village." And he said, "Thank you. Now I can finally destroy." And they say, "What?" As they get, a body flickers to Mina's house. He says, "Pack some clothes, we're leaving." She says, "Well, where will we be going? You just got banished we don't have anywhere to stay. And he says, yeah, we do. The Katsuki. And he says, those people are evil. They want you for your tail beast. And he says, if I kill the leader Pain, take his eyes, then I won't, then I'll become the new leader. And she says, okay. And basically, after she says okay, we see, he says okay, and she packs some of Naruto's underwear and some shorts, a couple pairs of pants, and 3 shirts, and another pair of shoes. She has tennis shoes and regular shoes. And he says, come on. As they walk up the village, and the Amu says, Naruto Uzumaki, you have 24 hours to get away from the village. And if we find you, you are hereby considered a banished ninja, so you can be killed by anyone. And Naruto says, I don't care. And he says, whatever. He says, I don't care, whatever, man. And he picks up. She says, well, where are we going? And he says, first it's time to go meet, it's time to go, kill a little friend of mine. And she says, how are you gonna kill your own friend? And she says, we're not friends. Let's just say we had a drawing back, we had a little something back in the day, as you could call a battle, or a little skirmish back in the day. And she says, Naruto, who you talking about? And he says, we're gonna kill Zabuza. And she says, no, you don't need to kill anyone. And she gets off of him. She stands up and she says, I won't let you. As he says, she says, I won't let you. She's saying he's trying to hold Naruto back, and Naruto's like, Naruto is like, Mina, please. As he says, Mina, I'm sorry. And in the innocent tone, she looks up and she sees the regular Naruto, and she kisses him. He kisses back, and then Nine-Tail says, we should destroy that village, remember? You still have to destroy it. And he says, oh yeah, as he gets back to his form, he says, I still have to destroy that village. And she says, Naruto, no, I'm not gonna let you. You're gonna have to kill me to destroy the village. He says, I don't need to kill you. I'm not gonna kill you at all. But I already gave your brother Sasuke a warning. If he's not out of that village by the next week, all I have to say is goodbye. And the Hokage is rallying up everybody and saying, Naruto's going to destroy the village, and we don't know when, but he will. And everybody, they're on guard. And Naruto hasn't done anything for like for a couple weeks, and they thought it was like just an accusation, and like he was out of anger. But Naruto, let's say he kills in this couple weeks, kills Zabuza, and one day she starts losing affection for Naruto because of the dark side that took him over. and he rarely talks to her. He really talks to her. He just trains, and the uh the good Naruto pop out time to time. That's when Naruto he will fight the darkness, and he says, and she says, Naruto, please snap out of it. And the darkness said, Dark Naruto said, this is Naruto. You see, he was abused, beaten, tortured by those villagers, and he and he never hit a single one of them back. All that pain just kept building up and building up. And then when he seen that teacher was when he seen what that teacher was about to do to you, he released it all, and it took over, and his darkness took over. And he says, at this rate, if you don't stop Meliodas, there's no telling how strong he could be. Or he says, at this rate, if you don't stop me, there's no telling how strong I would be. And she says not to come. She grabs his hand and he says, please, please. He says, where is the person that I know? And Dr. Naruto says, they must have left with all my faith. And she smacks him and says, I hate you. And she says, I hate you. Why can't you just go back to your normal self? And Dr. Naruto says, because the the pain of seeing Dr. Naruto says, when my good side takes over, the pain of seeing you hurt, I just can't. And she says, Naruto, I wasn't even hurt. And he says, in my eyes it looked like it, so I had to take over. And Naruto hurt, he still fighting. He still is fighting. He is still fighting. He's strong too, but he won't get out. He won't make it out. I'll take over his whole body. And she kisses Dr. Naruto. And she says, Naruto, if you can hear me, please snap out of it. Please. And she says, remember all the memories we had, all the fun times. Remember our special spot with all the flowers and the mountains and hills in the background. And we still go there every sunset. And she says, remember how I used to come, how you used to grab my butt in the shower and at school? Huh? She's trying to think of every good moment in my time. She says, remember when we watched the movie and how I snuggled you because I was scared and you said you'd always be there for me. Huh? Naruto? You said that. And she's closing her eyes while she's saying all this. And Naruto, good Naruto, evil Naruto, he transforms. Well, good Naruto comes back. And he says, remember all the things we did. Remember all the stuff that I went through. Remember when, I'm gonna just say some random stuff. It happened, but I never talked about it. She says, remember when the villagers beat you up to bloody folk? And, no, I did talk about this. She says, remember when Kiba and his goons, and Kiba and his friends beat you to a bloody folk? Who saved you, Naruto? It's Naruto, he just walking towards her. And she says, please Naruto, come back to me. And Naruto says, I can't. Well, he's playing with her. And she says, please Naruto. And she starts describing more good moments. And Naruto, he is close enough. And he says, should remember this though. But he doesn't say that. He says, to my calculation, your roof is getting bigger. And she opens her eyes and she sees good Naruto. And he's smiling. And she hugs him and says, you can do it. I'm just so happy that you're back. And Naruto says, you too. And she says, fighting off the darkness was hard. I'm still never take over again. I'll come back again. And we see, he says, where did I get this sword? And she said, he killed Zabuza. And Naruto has the eyes wide. He says, and he says, well, what the problem? Reanimation jutsu. And Zabuza comes out. And he says, what the hell do you want, kid? First you kill me, take my sword. And we see Zabuza, Naruto, gave Zabuza the sword and says, sorry, that wasn't me, that was someone else. And she says, he says, what are you talking about? And he says, my dark emotions took over. And I'm sorry, Zabuza. And Zabuza says, thank you, Naruto. Zabuza says, thank you, Naruto. And basically, he says, I'm gonna say that, she goes to Naruto. Sorry, y'all, heard that. I don't say they already had sex, but I never talked about it. I really don't want to go over those details. They had sex before, though. Don't say that. And Naruto, don't say not good Naruto. He's like, fight the darkness. And he's just steady fighting the darkness. He says, it's too much. I have to give her the Naruto station. Or you take over again. As his darkness takes over. And Naruto walks out. And and Mina says, Naruto. And she starts crying. And says, give me back Naruto. Dark Naruto says, he really is trying to fight. Who can do this? But I'm stronger. And as he says, I have to have some business. And she says, okay. And she sits there waiting on Naruto to get back. And it's been 3 weeks since he's getting back. She starts to think that he left her. But I'm gonna say that Naruto, he gets back and he got rid of his dark side. He opens the door and he said, Mina, please help me. The pain is immense. It's intolerable, or whatever he said. And she says, Naruto, and she says, help me. Naruto says, help me, please. And he falls onto the ground with a seal on his back. And he says, or on his chest, he falls down on his back. And with a seal on his, he rips out his shirt and says, "You have to help me. I need you to complete the ritual." And she says, "What do you mean ritual?" He says, "This is." He said, "This is gonna take off. Get this is gonna this is gonna take my darkness away." She says, she says, well, what if, she says, really not to, and he says, yeah, you have to hurry. He's fighting back. He says, repeat after me, and they repeat after each other, and she breaks the, thing, seal, and he gets up. He tries to get up, and he falls over, and he, like, falls on her, and I would say his face is in her gazonga, and his face is in her gazonga, and basically, um, we see her blushing, and she said, get up, Naruto, and she can't face Naruto, she can't look Naruto directly in his face, and we'll see 2 minutes time skip, she just pick it up, and he gets up, and he says, or he puts his hand on her boobs without knowing. He gets up. He says, "What's the sensation?" Sensation is wow. As she gets up, he really don't know what else. And he no, he says, he says the sensation so soft, bouncy, squishy, plump, and and she's blushing hard. She's like, not stop, stop, and not snaps out of it and says, huh? And he says, she says, Naruto says, all that. Well, no, Naruto doesn't say this. Naruto does not say that. Whatchamacallit says it. No, not, no, restart that over. Naruto says, sorry, 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 I forgot her name. I think it was May. No, it wasn't May. He says, sorry, baby. And she says, no, no problem, Naruto. She says, it doesn't matter, Naruto. As he says, well, okay. Let's say, she says, it's been a long day, let's go to sleep. And Naruto says, okay. She takes off her pants, and she's sleeping in Naruto's drawers. He's sleeping. So he just wanted a shirt. He just wanted a shirt. She wanted a shirt. And no, Naruto not wearing. He's honestly Naruto just wearing his briefs or his his boxers and no briefs. Naruto's just wearing his briefs and she was at a snuggle together. And Naruto would Naruto thinking about earlier how he did that to Shia. He said about he did that to Shia. He says, um, he's jingling, it gets obsidian top like, and pokes her, and she says, what was that? And Naruto says, huh? What do you mean? What? And she says, what was that? That's Naruto. He like bags up a little bit. And she says, why are you bagging up? She says, come closer. I want to feel your warmth. Naruto says, oh, well, okay. And he scoots closer. And basically, when he scoots closer and he's like, and she's like, Naruto, you're hard, aren't you? And Naruto said, yeah, sorry. And she said, Naruto, is that your thing? She asked Naruto, is that your thing? Poking me in my back. And Naruto says, yeah, sorry. And she says, no, it's fine. She scoots back. She scoots back a little bit. Naruto says, he must want some. Basically, she says, yeah. She says, yeah. Oh, no. We're gonna actually. She said she backs up on him. And Naruto says, Shia, what are you doing? Not Shia. Mina, what are you doing? And she says, she says we haven't did anything funny in a long time. And he says we haven't, as he takes off her bra super fast and takes off his. He says, you're so right. We haven't. And she's blushing and says, Naruto, how did you do that so fast? And he says, I've been training. And basically, he starts rubbing his 18 plus scene. He started rubbing his thing on her Nona square. And basically, when he starts rubbing his thing on her Nona square, basically she's like, what's her name? She's like, Naruto, stop teasing. And Naruto, he says, okay. And he sticks the whole thing in. And she moans like 10 seconds straight. And Naruto was like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. As he pulls back, he thumps back in, and it thumps her womb. It's tapping the back of her womb. It is tapping the back of her womb. And she says, Naruto, no homo. No homo. She says, Naruto, your jingling is so big. And he says things to compliment as he's going down. And she's like, Naruto, I can lucky. She says, Naruto, I can feel you. And Naruto says, I'm about to. And she says, I don't care. She says, I don't care, do it inside. And Naruto says, okay, as he does it inside. And basically. And basically, sorry, let's suddenly stop. Basically, he pulls out, and I would say he fills up the wound, but stuff still keep coming out. And he says, she says, Naruto says, I really filled her up, didn't I? She says, that's not funny. She's just sitting, we do a 2 hour time skip, and she says, Naruto says, I really filled her up, didn't I? She says, that's not funny, Naruto. And he says, oh, you know it is. I see, he smacks her booty, and she says, Naruto. And she says, Naruto says, yeah. And she says, don't do that again. And he says, oh, sorry. As she turns around, he smacks it again. She says, Naruto. She says, Naruto, I told you don't do that again. And she's basically, Naruto, he's about to do it again, and she turns around. I'll say he smacks her, he smacks her thigh. Basically, he smacks her thighs. Hey, Chico. And he says, holy Jesus. You really got some thick thighs. And she says, thank you. As her thighs like busting out of her socks. And, if you haven't seen anime and a girl's thighs are busting out her socks, you're missing out. Like, what type of anime are you watching? So, as we see her, thighs, we see her, thighs busting out her socks, and he says, I'm trying to fill you up again. He says, I want to fill you up again. And she says, no. I had enough for today. And he says, okay. And basically he basically says, okay. And he basically says, do you want to watch a movie? And she says, yeah, let me get done cooking. And she's cooking up some pork chops. She's cooking up the pork chops. Yeah, she cooking up the pork chops with some greens, beans, potatoes, and that's all she got. She got some pork chops, greens, beans, potatoes, and Naruto. He says, what do you want to watch? And she says, I don't know. Let's watch something funny. And he says, funny, yo. And he puts on Grown Ups 2. No, I think it's Grown Ups 2. When they go to the cabin? Yeah. I think it is. He puts up Grown Ups 2. And they're like all taking shifts, and you remember when they were taking shifts, looking at that guy's daughter, and he was like, shift, and they were just dying laughing. And at the end he said, we're all looking at the tree, aren't we? And he says, yeah, we are. And then they started dying laughing, and they finished the movie. And basically, yeah, And basically, after they finish the movie, they hear a knock on the door. And Naruto, he thought he hasn't destroyed that village. But that was his dark side. He still hasn't destroyed the village. He says, he says, well, he says, he says, well, someone's at the door. That's where I'm gonna leave it off. For what if Naruto, or what if Sasuke, sister, or what if Sasuke had a sister?